guys, welcome to Fishing with Gary. Today we're sitting in this really nice brand new nitro boat. We're going to talk about fishing. What's happening to our bass fishing? Where did the fishing go? Where did the fish go? How deep are they? Why are they not biting? We're going to try to explain this to you on how to catch these fish. You still can catch them, you just have to follow a few simple words. I'm going to talk about Zoom trick worms, and if you go onto my website www.fishingwithgarysenft.com, I post a fishing report every time I go to the lake. So that could be a couple of times a week, whether it's Lake Pleasant, Bartlett, or Roosevelt. So let me explain what I'm doing, and I'm just going to talk about the Zoom trick worms. Also, I do use some robo worms and stuff, but basically these worms right here, these are just everyday worms. One of them's watermelon candy, one of them's just watermelon seed, one of them's watermelon red. So I just stay basic, and if you get into where the fish and you know where to find them, that's the plus. That's how to catch these fish. Other than that, I like this robo worm right here with the chartreuse tail. Boy, I'll tell you what, more times than not, if the water's dirty, that catches the fish. If I'm using a Zoom worm, and I'm just gonna Texas rig this Zoom worm right here, I'm gonna just run this in 1/4 of an inch into the worm. Just about that much right there. Now I have a long shank hook with a little keeper doom-a-jigger on there, and I'm gonna run that worm right over that. And of course your weight is gonna go right on top of it. And I'm also using a bobber stopper for the winter time, okay? That keeps the bait in contact with the worm all the time. The trick is, one of the tricks is keep that worm straight. Don't just mangle it up there like that. The fish just won't bite on it. That worm has to be perfectly straight. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put the worm straight, measure it, bend it just a little bit, and we're gonna hide that worm in there. That way, if there's a tree or something, I can throw that in there. But the main purpose of this is not throwing it into trees. We're throwing it on rocky banks. The fish, the first thing you need to do is locate where are the fish staying. You know, are they in 10 feet, 12 feet, 15 feet, 18, 20 feet? Right now, at Pleasant, Bartlett, Roosevelt, those fish are in 15 feet of water. So what I like to do, and I'm going to explain this very slowly, if I'm in dirty water, I'm going to put some of this spike it on it, okay? And I'm only going to dip just a tiny bit of the tail. It's just like dipping this. It's going to come out the same way, just that chartreuse on the end of that worm. If I'm in dirty water, if I'm in clear water, I'm just going to use the worm just as it comes out of the package. What I do is I put my boat in about 25, 30 feet of water. I know the fish are in 13, 14, or 15. So I look at the angle of the bank. If the bank's like a 60-degree angle and that's coming down kind of steep, I know that if I cast my bait 10 feet off the bank, it's gonna drop in 10, 12 feet of water. That's what I'm trying to do every cast. I cast that out, I let it hit in 12 feet of water, it hits the bottom, I reel up my slack, and I'm just gonna hold it there to the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If nothing hit that by the count of 5, I'm gonna just kind of pull it a little bit. And if it's kind of spongy or you feel something resisting it, it's either a bass or a rock, okay? So just kind of move it a little bit, and if it's moving freely and you don't feel nothing, stop again, count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If nothing hits it during that time, I'm gonna reel it up and I'm gonna throw it 5 feet down the shore. So I'm just gonna keep moving my bait. The trick is stop. Every time you move it, stop. Don't sit there and move it a lot, a foot or two. They are so lethargic, they're laying right in the mud on the very bottom of the lake. They want that bait just moved an inch or 2 inches, 3 inches. That's the trick to catching these bass. Move very slow. You do that and you cover a lot of territory, you will get those bass to bite. As soon as you move it and you're holding that worm perfectly still, and all of a sudden you feel the slightest little movement of that tungsten weight on there, that's a bass that just sucked that into his mouth. Rail up and set the hook. You'll have a fish on. We've been catching a lot of fish lately, anywhere from 10 to 25 bass per outing. But you gotta follow those simple rules. You know, when I take people out, it's the hardest thing that they don't throw it out and start moving it right away. It's not summertime. It hasn't been this cold in 5 years. Follow those directions and you'll catch more fish. Thanks for watching Fishing with Gary.